Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Mic Drop, the Music News Blitz podcast where we talk about everything music. I am your host for today, Nisha Cullen, and I'm joined with Katie and Will. Hi guys.
Hello, hello.
And we're going to be talking about some really interesting things today. First, we're going to start with Katie, who's talking about accessibility within music.
Yeah, so the reason this has been on my mind this week is I actually watched the Brits this year. It was partly doing this podcast. I was like, I need to start getting more on it with these big shows because I never know what's happening. So I gave it a watch and I actually really enjoyed it. But one thing that really stuck with me is so all these big artists, Olivia Dean, Lola Young, RAYE, all great artists. But they kept being like, oh, they went to Brit School. And I was like, what is Brit School to start with? Like, I'd never heard of it. And then I was like, how crazy that all these people come from this one school. So I did a little bit of research and found out it's this like performing arts school in London. Some really good things about it. So it's state funded, so you don't have to pay to go. So in that sense, it's obviously like, it's very accessible. I know people like Olivia Dean didn't necessarily come from families with lots of money, and it's a way that, it really picks up the organic talent. But then I was also thinking, like, British music is really booming at the moment. But if you look at a lot of the big stars, they're all from London. And I was like, I'm not really surprised that I found out this big mega school exists. It kind of makes sense. And I was just thinking, like, there's always going to be different layers of accessibility in music, and there's always going to be, people that are left behind. But I just thought this school was really interesting because it's just, it's really clearly very successful if you look at a lot of our pop stars. And I do think it's a great thing overall. But then when you think about such the condensed area that all of our big pop stars are coming from, it's a bit crazy, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially even like the fact it's state funded, I did not know it was state funded. I think that is a great thing. But I think even living in London or getting down to London, like that's still an accessibility issue that not everyone can afford that. And I think even the fact the Brits were in Manchester this year, like that is huge. But we have so much talent coming from the north of the country that maybe is getting looked over because of this big school in London.
Yeah. No,
What do you think, Will?
No, for sure. I mean, it's definitely an issue. Obviously, in Britain, there's a massive divide between the north and south, and that's not just in music, that's in most aspects of life. So, yeah, I think definitely because I don't really know many northern artists. I'll know like the odd couple from Liverpool and like as I go around, but other than that, I won't know anyone outside of my own bubble. So I think it's just like trying to make sure that the people from different areas of the country can also capture the heart of the entire country as well as the rest of the world, rather than just kind of having like this one subgroup in London, allowing them to harvest their raw skill and talent, which is obviously amazing. Olivia Dean, like all those artists you spoke of, all done amazing on Saturday night. But we also need to be looking at the bigger picture of everyone else that's around us.
Yeah, I do think it's kind of one of those things as well. When there is a big Northern artist, being Northern is such a big part of their identity in a way that being Southern isn't necessarily. I was just thinking about like it was funny, but they made such a big deal out of like the Manchester accent and Oasis and all of that. And I was thinking, at no point have any of these like Londoners had their accents parodied, which I thought was an interesting point.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think they also brought like people from different northern areas as well, but they were used in the passage jokes, but just because it was a northern show. I don't know, it almost felt like it was a one-off show. Like they're not going to go back to Manchester anymore. Obviously, we'll see with next year, but it's like they took this one opportunity to almost just capture the north as a whole, and I don't know if they've done that in the best light.
Mm-hmm.
I think even as well, Sam Fender, like being from Newcastle, is a huge part of who he is. Which like obviously makes sense. And I think the fact the Mercury Prize was brought to Newcastle last year, I think that was incredible because there is so much talent in like the north of the country, and it's just being kind of looked over because London is sort of seen as this hub of everything.
Yeah, and I think the Mercury Prize is also returning to Newcastle, I think, after last year.
Is it? I didn't even know that.
I think it is, yeah. Because obviously Sam Fender done really well with People Watching, I want to say his album.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think People Watching done really well as a whole, and Sam Fender in the past couple of years has just done amazing for himself. And I think bringing like that focus back up to the north is just great. So with the Mercury Prize, I'm not 100% sure, but I do think it is returning to Newcastle as well after last year.
That's great. Because there was such a buzz around, because obviously Sam Fender won as well, and I'm so close to Newcastle. And I think it's great that there's more kind of focus on the north of the country. But anyway, speaking of the Brits, Will is going to take us and talk to us about the Brit
Yeah.
Awards.
Yeah, so I think Katie mentioned these big names, Ray, Lily Young, and Olivia Dean. Coming into the show, we knew that Lily Young and Olivia Dean were the biggest nominations, but Olivia Dean seemed to just take everything. She won 4 and basically every big award possible. She won Album of the Year and Artist of the Year, which is something that in past years has been very dominated by women. It's actually the Brits have been very much dominated by women, which is crazy to think about. In the past 4 out of 5 years, women have won Artist of the Year. The only one who wasn't was Harry Styles. So you've seen Adele, Ray, Olivia Dean, and Charlie XCX all take that. And same with Album of the Year. It has been a very dominated award show. And sometimes you'll see that when you look at others like the Grammys, but I feel like there's a bit more variety. And I think in past years, the Brits have almost become too dominated. So it's almost like this accessibility, but also like the wider, I can't remember the word, like this spotlight to everyone else, because the award show every single year seems to be dominated by one person. Last year you had Charlie XCX. A previous year you had Ray, who broke the record and won 6. And then this year you've had Olivia Dean win near enough everything. So I think with this accessibility and people actually, British artists getting shown off, they also need to be celebrated a bit more. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I definitely agree. I think there's so many nominations and so many nominees, and I think, like, I'm not really sure how it's kind of decided who wins what. But I think it would be great to see more people getting celebrated and being, awarded these things.
Yeah, because we spoke about it last time. Lily Allen, Katie's like, you were very much a big fan of that album. I think everyone was. I still haven't got round to it myself. But she ended up walking like away empty-handed. Like she didn't win anything for something that was kind of monumental in her career.
I do think that's a really interesting one, because while, again, Nisha, I'm not sure what the Brits are actually judged on, but for me, like, I think Olivia Dean is so good. Like, I really think she is a really, really good artist, but I didn't personally think that album was as different, say, as Lily Allen's. Like, I thought what she brought out really, like, stopped the world for a second. Like, everyone was like, oh my God. Whereas for Olivia Dean, I thought it was very much like really good, like well-written songs, but I don't think it had quite the same cultural impact when it came out. Like, I wasn't actually sure what her album was called. I knew all the songs like individually because obviously they're everywhere, but I just don't think it turned heads in quite the same way.
No, I definitely agree. I think I don't really listen to Olivia Dean. I think it's kind of just a bit samey. And I've no problem with it, and I've no problem when it like comes on or something, but I think it's just not really what I'd choose to put on. But obviously she's huge, so I wasn't surprised she was nominated for all these things, and in a way wasn't surprised that she won a lot because she is everywhere. But I was just kind of like, it didn't really stand out to me in any way, so I agree with you there.
Yeah, well, speaking of standouts, I think the performances were a massive win for this year. I'm not sure if you guys have seen all of them, but I think the performances were quite outstanding, especially Rosalia's.
Yeah.
She was my personal favorite. And I think a lot of people have kind of argued that Rosalia's is probably a lot of their favorites, bringing out Bjork.
Yeah.
Seeing Bjork return is just it's like a wild sight, and it's crazy to see like, at this time of year.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think Rosalia definitely took the cake. I did love RAYE as well. But I love RAYE as a musician. I think she's incredible. But yeah, Rosalia, I think she deserved International Artist 100 times over. I think I saw a little like brief interview with CMAT, and because she was up for International Artist as well, but she was like, no, Rosalia's gonna get it. I know I
Yeah.
have no chance. And I think as amazing as CMAT's album was, I think Rosalia, she's in a different league, I think. And her live performance, it showcased all of that.
I
Yeah.
do think that's going to become one of those performances that people are going to look back on in 30 years and be like, remember when this happened? Like, it was crazy. It was literally a spectacle. Like,
Yeah.
It was such an insane thing to watch, and especially live. I mean, you just didn't really expect all those transitions, and it almost the ending obviously like a clubbier vibe. And I've seen people compare it to Harry Styles' performance, which almost kind of blown him out the water on his own return. So I feel like maybe that gives some people mixed opinions on what his album's actually like on Friday. But it's almost like Rosalie's just came in onto his home turf essentially, blown him out the water, and then walks away with International Artist of the Year, the first Latin artist as well. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, she really dominated people. And I think definitely coming into a British culture of people won't really know her, I think she has just stolen the show.
I think she's really shown people who she is, and I think that's definitely going to cause some new listeners to go towards her music after her performance. And I think, and Harry Styles' performance, I didn't love it, me personally.
No.
I think it was just a little bit lackluster. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it.
It might be a bit unpopular, but I think that quite a lot of his music's a bit lackluster. Like, I'm never really sure. It's not bad music, but I'm never really sure that it's like anything particularly special. But that might just be me being cynical. But
I kind of agree there.
No,
and it is definitely an unpopular opinion. So
yeah, I'd definitely be putting Rosalia above.
yeah, for sure. I think I'm definitely excited for Friday, but I think it's almost just left an undertone of what are we expecting from this new album, and what are we expecting from this new era of Harry, I guess.
I don't even know what to expect.
I don't think many of us do, because we've seen Rosalia, she came out with her new album and she's in 14 different languages. And that is just insane. And I really think women dominated the show on Saturday. And that was such a big aspect of it, because even then we had Dua Lipa make a surprise return during Mark Ronson's set. Pink Pantheress became the first female, the first woman to win Producer of the Year, and she's also the youngest person to do it. So it was very much just women in the spotlight, and that was such a great thing to see.
So I think that's it for the Brits, and I just wanted to talk about an EP that I've been listening to quite a bit, and it's definitely a really different EP. So it's 14 Minutes by Dominic Fike, and it's 14 minutes long, hence why it's called 14 Minutes. And I think it's a very raw and kind of deeper cuts, and there's songs that weren't going to be released. And then he just released them on this EP, and I've been listening to it a lot. It's very simple, and it's very accessible as well. It did receive quite a strong mixed response when it was first released in 2024, but I really like it. I really like Misses and Coast to Coast on it. I think they're my favorite. Have either of you guys listened to this, or?
I have not. I think I've listened to the odd song by him, and that's when it's just popped up, but I've never went out my way to listen to him.
I don't actually think maybe I'd recognise a song by him if I heard it, but I don't really like context as to who he is. Really.
Three Nights was a big one a few years ago.
That's the one that came to mind for me.
Yeah, and he was in Euphoria as well in the last season of Euphoria.
Yeah.
So, my
I'll
choice
listen
of
to it.
topic this week has kind of fallen a bit flat, but that's just what I've been listening to, so I thought I'd share.
What kind of music is it?
A little bit rap, a little bit melodic, kind of bit poppy. You know, sort of bit of a finger in each pie.
Yeah.
Wait, I was gonna say, you mentioned that they were almost like unreleased tracks in a
Yeah,
way. So were they like meant to be planned on other albums and then just didn't get released?
I don't know.
Like,
I tried to do a bit of research into it because I've been listening to it quite a bit, and it's only 14 minutes, so it's kind of it's an easy if I'm on the bus to uni or something.
yeah.
But I think some of them were maybe just like demos of songs that didn't really go anywhere. Because there's not a lot of production behind a lot of them.
Yeah.
And some of them I don't even enjoy that much. But I think the ones that are standouts, I think Mrs. Coast to Coast, and I like Thick Rick as well. I think they're good ones on that.
Because for me, that just made me think of deluxe like edition of albums and how artists do that.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on whether they like it or not. What are your guys' thoughts? Because I think it depends on the songs that are actually released afterwards. But I think sometimes it could maybe ruin an album or not.
Yeah, I think I'm very 50-50 about it as well. I think the one that comes to mind that has tracks on it that were added after that I enjoy was Hopeless Fountain Kingdom by Halsey. There's a few songs on there that were added as deluxe, and they're actually some of my favorites on the album when I listen to it as a whole. But I think sometimes it just kind of doesn't work.
Yeah.
Or especially if there's like kind of a theme for the album, and then it's just kind of this random song, and you're just like, where did this come from?
I think maybe as an artist, it must be hard sometimes actually knowing what your strongest songs are. Because I know I've like listened to big artists being interviewed before, and they've been like, I didn't know it was that one that was going to blow up. So I guess it kind of, it gives that chance to maybe share a song that is actually the best song they've ever written, and they've just not realised it. But at the same time, I think albums nowadays, like, they're marketed as such a product, really. I think sometimes it can seem, if it's not being built into the overall picture, it can feel like an add-on because it's not been part of like the image and the way it's been marketed and everything. It can just feel a bit off with the rest of the vibe sometimes.
And I think kind of playing on that, I think if the album is released and then later it comes out a deluxe version, and it's like, well, now do I have to buy both? Do I wait on the album release and buy the deluxe version? So I think that kind of can sometimes seem like a bit a money grab. Like, do
Yeah.
you really need all these albums?
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially for consumers, you definitely think of, oh, what if they release more, or what if they release a special edition or a special version, and you're just like, do I hold out or do I just buy it while I enjoy it?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think of when I think of that, I think of an album I loved was Brat by Charlie XCX, but there was so many editions of that album released
Yeah,
that it's kind of like, we do not need any more.
yeah,
I do think the best way to do it is what is like the Dominic Fike way, though, is where you release an album and then maybe have an EP of the songs that weren't quite right for it. I think that's the best way to do it because you still get to hear these lovely songs then, but they're not like ruining what's already there.
Yeah,
Are either of you two fans of Angie McMahon?
I am not.
I have no clue.
Well, she's written one of my favourite albums ever. It's called Light Dark Light Again. It's really, really good. You should go listen. But she's released an EP, it was about a year ago now, that was like the songs that didn't quite make it onto the album. And that has some of like the best lyric writing I've ever heard on it. So like in moments like that, I'm like, yeah, do it. I want to hear the rejects because they're still good.
Yeah,
I think that certainly is the way to go. I mean, a lot of artists, because nowadays I feel like you see a lot of artists making for hit singles rather than the full body. But if you make for if you're one of an artist that wants to tell the story within an album and then have these extra songs, but maybe they don't quite work, just release them separately, not in association, because people aren't going to hold that against you, saying, oh, you've ruined this album for me, but they're just separate songs in this case.
Yeah.
So maybe that is the way to go in future. Maybe we'll see more artists doing that.
Yeah, I think it definitely does. It works.
I agree.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you so much for watching. We do have a website where you can read articles about all things music. It's Music News Blitz. And thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye bye.